So silence your cell phones, hold your applause, and tune into the truth.
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody.
Getting beat up by 9 guys at Syracuse, to me, there's not a whole lot of shame in.
From the 315 to the world, this is the Heel the Face podcast.
The cream of the crop! Wow, man, freak out!
Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Heel to the Face.
I said, are you ready?
From Armory Square in downtown Syracuse, New York, let's send it now to Dustin, Brandon, and Jared.
Bad luck to be my middle name. They might as well tag me up to my buddy from Syracuse.
This is the Heel of the Face podcast for yet another week. No Dustin this week, but we are joined, as always, with Brandon the Icebreaker Clements. You can find him on Twitter at Icebreaker21. You can find myself at KRock Jared on both Instagram and Twitter. And most importantly, follow the show on Twitter at Heel to the Face and on Instagram at Heel to the Face. Super Showdown coming up tomorrow as of this recording. Hopefully we have it up in time because it is an afternoon show. We're coming off of NXT Takeover and much more. So without further ado, let's get this week's edition of the show underway. Some breaking news. As of recording, Jinder Mahal is currently the 24/7 champion. He just won it at an airport. Excited about that?
Not really. I think that title is just awful. I cannot stand it. The belt looks like crap. The whole concept sucks because, like we talked about on previous weeks, like R-Truth will like walk by guys like Bobby Lashley and like they don't want the title. They're just kind of like, okay, see you later. It's to me. There's no. I don't feel it. I don't feel it with this title. At this point, you might as well bring back, like, the European Championship, honestly.
But moving on to real news, because Jinder Mahal winning the title for the second time. He's now a two-time 24/7 champion. And he did get on the plane, so R-Truth did not win it back. We'll see if anything happens.
So R-Truth by the end of, by the Super Showdown is going to be like a 6-time champion.
Yeah, imagine if they put it in that 50-man battle royal. I mean, had that going on with it as well.
That's probably what's going to happen.
But we move on to this past week, and one story I'd like to start with, and we talked about it last week. So Jon Moxley, a.k.a. Dean Ambrose, he is now the New Japan Wrestling IWGP United States Champion. I said this to you last week, and I'll say it to you again. He's now the champion. He beat Juice Robinson at a New Japan Wrestling event. AEW guys over New Japan now winning belts. Good, bad, indifferent for AEW.
I like it. I think it's great because you're blending a lot of the different talent, a lot of the top tier talent that isn't in WWE. So I think it's a good match made in heaven. I was reading online, like there's like different polls out there, like which organization would you like AEW to partner with? And honestly, like the biggest answer was all of them except for WWE, obviously.
My question is, though, with this whole partnership, again, that takes me to the point of AEW is supposed to be standalone. It's supposed to be different. It's not supposed to be one of these partnering groups because, again, Impact Wrestling, we saw that they did lots of partnerships. I don't want to go down the road of AEW already in the Impact world, but, I mean, yeah, they did lots of partnerships with Global Force Wrestling. I remember that. They let their talent go to independent shows. That's why I saw AJ Styles. That's why I saw Samoa Joe, because of the fact that they weren't tied down to one thing. In fact, at an independent show in Rochester and both Syracuse, because it was back-to-back nights, I saw Abyss, who was the current NWA champion at the time, which was the TNA champion. They called him the NWA champion. Took on Spike Dudley, who was a Impact performer, I believe, at that time. Defended the belt both nights, so I saw the Impact Championship match, the Heavyweight Championship, defended at these non-Impact shows. Obviously, the title didn't change hands for the fact that these were not Impact shows, but the point of the matter is that I didn't feel that made Impact Wrestling any better. I don't think seeing Abyss defend the Impact Championship at an independent wrestling show made Impact any better. I felt it kind of cheapened the product. It made it seem like, obviously, Seth Rollins won't be defending the Universal title in any gymnasiums anytime soon.
Well, no, it's here's the thing. I'm not trying to compare WWE and AEW exactly to a T. It's going to be apples and oranges. Honestly, I think AEW is like they've advertised. It's an alternative to WWE. It's and Dean Ambrose said it in the interview on the Talk is Jericho podcast that it's going to be different from WWE because you have more, you can control your character a little bit more, and you get to be able to do these different indie shows. And I think a lot of superstars, I think it's appealing. So I wouldn't be surprised as a whole that, when WWE guys' contracts are up or gals, when their contracts are up, don't be surprised if they go to AEW because here's the thing. Dean Ambrose even said in the podcast, I think it was last week, 2 weeks ago, that he didn't even look at the offer that WWE sent him in. He's like, I'm already one step out the door before my contract ended. So I mean, a lot of superstars, yes, it's about the money. We get that. I mean, yes, you got to make money for your family and all that. I get that. But like guys like Dean Ambrose, if you're smart with your money, you've made enough money in WWE, and now you're making good money in AEW, but you also get the creative freedom. So to me, I don't think it lessens the product, because a lot of these big names they're going to flock to AEW. If things keep going in the right direction, I know it's one show. I know the Double or Nothing pay-per-view. It was a great show. I enjoyed it. We've talked about it on the previous show. But I would say this. You're gonna see these talents come to AEW, and I think it's gonna make WWE hopefully sharpen things up, sharpen their pencil a little bit, or they're gonna keep going in this stale, stagnant type of thing. And if things progress, I mean, it's not gonna happen overnight, but AEW is going to take a little chip out of that WWE business. I can see it. I can see it right now, because I know a lot of WWE fans are already, I wouldn't say, leaving WWE completely, because that's not going to happen for a while. I don't see it. But they're looking at AEW like, all right, if you guys are going to be consistent like this, maybe I'm just going to, maybe I'll start tuning away from WWE.
Well, one thing we kind of learned this past weekend, maybe we're looking at everything all wrong. Nigel McGuinness kicked off the NXT Takeover 25 show with the correct placement of words, I guess, kind of firing some shots. He started out saying, "Welcome to the true alternative in professional wrestling," obviously not speaking as the alternative to WWE, obviously trying to maybe take shots at AEW. But so maybe WWE this whole time, they're not really trying to compete with AEW on the sense of their WWE product. It's feel that NXT this past week stepped things up, as they felt that they were more or less the ones that felt, I guess, triggered and that have to go against AEW. I guess we're on SmackDown. We're not on the playing surface of going at AEW. We didn't realize it. It's not WWE versus AEW. Maybe it's NXT
I think for
versus AEW.
A lot of wrestling fans, I would say at this point, they're comparing. If you're going to compare any WWE brand, so to speak, it's going to be NXT and AEW. You're not going to compare AEW to Raw or SmackDown. The more common, the more in common brand is NXT and AEW. I think that's why you're going to see NXT still do their thing. It was still a hell of a show this past weekend. It was only 5 matches, and every match was fantastic.
And maybe this might be where we agree here, because I told you that I wasn't so sold on AEW's Double or Nothing. I didn't think it was the greatest event I watched.
I don't think it was
I
either.
didn't think it was even the greatest event I watched this year. I mean, I saw Wrestle Kingdom, and I saw all the takeovers. To be honest with you, AEW's got I guess that's what I was expecting. What TakeOver brought at TakeOver 25 this past week is more or less what I was expecting from this Double or Nothing event that had 6 months worth of build, and here NXT is just putting on amazing shows every time out. I felt NXT was a more polished product yet again to Double or Nothing. I felt, in fact, kind of talking what I was telling you before, where I felt that the alternative was to the wrestling, not the presentation. NXT kind of showed that to me, because NXT has that WWE money behind it, so it feels more like a bigger, more polished product, but with the better wrestling.
NXT, like we've talked about this many times. NXT, the word I will use is NXT is like WWE's version of indie wrestling. That's really what it is. It's a lot of these indie guys and gals, or guys that are not playing the NFL or any other professional sport. And they're building themselves up to the main roster. That's why I like. So I get
the talent pool is different, because AEW is not going after developmental guys. No. They're going after guys who are established.
Established indie stars. I wouldn't say established like the Randy Ortons of the world at this point. I mean, you're getting Chris Jericho, you're getting Jon Moxley, but you're not going to see like everybody like Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Cesaro. You're not going to see every single one of them go to AEW. But don't be surprised. Out of those 3, one of those 3 may go there. I could see a guy like Cesaro, maybe go to AEW, because honestly, Cesaro does not get enough of a push. I mean, we'll see how this, he's got a new entrance. He's done okay the last couple weeks. I mean, WWE's really misused Cesaro since he's been in WWE. He's the type of guy that I could see, leaving WWE and going to AEW and just being a star.
But I know NXT, they used a little bit different entrance because they weren't as piggybacking off a WWE show this week, which is something unique. But either way, I felt just watching NXT, that is what I was expecting out of Double or Nothing. I was watching I felt like a much more polished, high definition graphic, kind of better entrances, better ring, just a better look. I know AEW I felt was more unique. Don't get me wrong, it had a more unique entranceway than NXT did. But I felt like just the whole presentation felt like if you were going to put something on TNT on a weekly basis, NXT felt more like that from this one show versus Double or Nothing from their one show. That felt more like I could see this on TV every week because I don't know if it was just the lighting, the ring, just the graphics, something about it, and on top of the better wrestling.
I would say this too. I mean, we talked about it last week with like the commentators as well. I mean, they're
and again, the commentators
not as polished.
Yeah, and obviously the NXT guys, Mauro Ranallo and the rest of them, just do an amazing job. And
Mauro's a hell of a talent too. To have him in NXT that is a blessing for WWE because Mauro Ranallo he's a hell of a MMA boxing broadcaster. His talents are pretty big. So I would say this. I mean, having him on NXT is a huge get, anyways. So comparing the commentating desk, it's no comparison. NXT obviously has the better crew. Nigel's good, and then what's the other guy's name? Well, I know Beth Phoenix was there this past week.
Yes.
What's the other guy's name?
Isn't he the one that quit?
Did he quit? I didn't know he quit.
I think you're thinking of Percy.
Percy, yes.
Yes. Well, actually, no. I have to recheck my facts here, but I believe a few weeks ago there was a big story about him leaving. I may be wrong. I may be wrong. But either way, NXT this past week, a great show overall. And one more thing I want to kind of take away NXT in comparison of AEW is, so NXT, their shows, their pay-per-view events, they fill up arenas. They're the hottest ticket in town. They're definitely sometimes a more expensive ticket than the WWE shows that are in town that same week. But NXT on a weekly basis isn't in front of those same crowds. NXT on a weekly basis is either at Full Sail University or if they travel to do house shows. I mean, we're talking smaller venues, concert-size venues, some casino floors, some event centers at casinos, that kind of thing, looking at 1,000 or 2,000 people.
I mean, honestly, that would be the perfect place for NXT is Turning Stone.
I mean, well, that's
a perfect place.
Well, I'm just saying that's what NXT does when it travels. When they do house shows, they're in Poughkeepsie, they're in Peekskill. If they're in Buffalo, they're at like the Riverworks where they have like some like independent concerts. Not obviously the big arenas.
They could go to like the Armory in Rochester. I mean, that's not a big place.
I think they've already been there. To be honest with you,
I
think NXT might have been already. I know they've been to an Armory that was in Albany, New York.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do remember that one. My friends went to Albany. I heard that was a good show too.
So my question is with NXT, obviously we see they sell out the pay-per-views. 20,000 people can fill up an arena. This past week a little bit smaller, but either way they can get 20,000 for an event. But when it comes down to the weekly TV, they still aren't drawing when it comes to the same venues that Raw and SmackDown draw. Is that kind of the same model that you're going to see for AEW? Do you see them doing the same thing? Because we saw them fill up the MGM for a pay-per-view event, but like NXT when AEW starts hitting the road for house shows, do you see them pulling the same kind of venues NXT's pulling? St. Catharines, Ontario, Niagara Falls, Ontario.
I see them doing something like that for for Tuesday nights and on TNT. I would say this. I hope it's not like the Impact Zone where it's in the same venue every single week. We don't want that. So hopefully it's not going to be like, oh, we're going to be here in the Georgia Dome, or Mercedes-Benz Stadium, whatever you want to call it now. You're not going to that. You're probably going to go to like, oh, we're at the campus of Georgia State University, something like that. Which it's not going to be a huge arena, but it'll look nice because it'll be sold out. And I mean, who cares? Who cares how many people how much you sell out on TV? As long as it looks full.
I get it. Well, I'm just trying to compare it in the sense of, what are we talking about when obviously everyone says this is the alternative, this is competition? Because let's not be fake here. They are, in a way, they're really playing the competition with WWE card maybe a little too hard. I mean, obviously, Cody Rhodes just came out with a new shirt about Throne Destroyer with him, destroying the Triple H throne at the pay-per-view. Now that's a T-shirt.
Here's what I would say.
Kenny Omega comes out on Twitter and says, I don't want to lose to a guy from that place, which is kind of funny because earlier in the night, he lost to a guy from that place. Speaking of Chris Jericho, but...
Well, yeah, but Chris Jericho,
he's from every place.
Yeah, he's well traveled.
But the point is, they're really going at like the whole anti-WWE angle.
But think of it this way: I don't expect AEW to sell out the same arenas that WWE does, because if you think about it, back about 25 years ago, there was an in-your-house pay-per-view here in Syracuse, New York, and it was at the War Memorial. And what's the War Memorial hold? Like 6,000 for a hockey game?
Yeah, no, and don't get me wrong, Monday Night Raw, when it first started, was pulling at the small places. We obviously did a show maybe a year or two ago now, where I told you Monday Night Raw was held in Alex Bay. It was held in some gymnasiums in the Adirondacks. It's been held in the middle of the Catskills. It's been held Poughkeepsie, obviously, Utica, New York, places like that have very small venues.
Yeah.
So that's how Monday Night Raw started. I guess the difference is at this time, they're just going at WWE hard. It feels like so.
Yeah, I wouldn't go at them too hard at this point because yes, you're an upstart, you're fresh. You don't want to poke the proverbial bear just yet. Like, why don't you get your footing first before you really start poking the bear? Triple H really didn't. He kind of brushed the whole thing off anyways when he was asked about it. So I don't think he's even taking it serious. I don't think Vince is taking it serious. I mean, I know a lot of, to be honest with you, I bet you there's a lot of talk backstage with WWE superstars. I bet you they're talking about it, but I don't think they're going to come out publicly and say, yeah, that was a fantastic show. I mean, you did see like Sasha Banks, she made a comment about, what's her face that made her debut on Double or Nothing. What's her name?
Well, I know that Sasha Banks removed all WWE mentions on her own Twitter and social media this past week. Well, she's referring now to her as a real name. Do you still see that do you see her leaving WWE? Do you see her just kind of using this for a little bit before she returns back?
I mean, here's the thing. Everybody was saying that about, or I shouldn't say everybody. Actually, a lot of the people were saying that about Dean Ambrose. Like, oh, is this a work? This and that. I mean, maybe it's a work, but I mean, I don't want to take a guess and say it is at this point. I could see her going to AEW.
Yeah, her new Twitter name is Mercedes Vernado, which is her regular name. Again, she's removed all WWE stuff. I still am holding out that she's probably going to be back in WWE sooner than later. I know you said about Dean Ambrose being a work. This, I guess, feels a little bit different to me. I just can't see her just leaving after losing the tag. It just seems. I feel that she's coming back. That's just a gut feeling I got.
I hope so. I hope you're right, but I wouldn't be surprised if she does leave. I mean, obviously there was reports that her and Vince had meetings about like her status in WWE, like where she feels she needs to be is what I was reading. I mean, if that meeting didn't go well, maybe I'm speculating. Obviously, we weren't in the meeting, obviously, and nothing's been officially reported. But maybe she brought her concerns to Vince, and Vince said, "All right, we'll let you leave." Or it could be like, "All right, let's play this out. Let's act like you're leaving, and then you'll make a surprise return." I mean, this is the thing about WWE. We just don't. You could guess one thing, and it could be completely, totally different. So, I hope she's back, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if she leaves. And if she does, the obvious choice is AEW.
So here's a hot take, and I won't be the one to say that I kind of I made this up myself. I kind of got this from somewhere else, but here's a hot take. So Brock Lesnar this past week on Monday Night Raw said Friday he did not cash in on Seth Rollins. I was going to say Sasha Banks. Seth Rollins. He did not cash in on Seth Rollins this past week, even though he just manhandled him and beat him up and could have obviously easily won the belt. But he said Friday. So here's a question. So a lot of rumors have been going around. We talk about the Fox deal, about SmackDown coming up this fall. And obviously names like Brock Lesnar are those that Fox and others that really want WWE to have for SmackDown, because now that they're really running the shots. They're really running the show because, they're putting all this money in. So they're kind of just like the Saudi Arabia's kind of telling WWE what things they want to see happen and what things they are pretty much demanding. So Brock Lesnar this past week said Friday. He did not say Super Showdown, which is this week in Saudi Arabia. He said Friday. So could it be not this Friday? Maybe Brock Lesnar is holding out that Money in the Bank, cashes in the very first Friday that SmackDown debuts on the Fox network.
I mean, that's a great thought. I do think it's going to happen at Super Showdown.
You think it's going to happen? I mean, I feel that Brock Lesnar is going to be at Super Showdown just because of the fact that there's too much money for him to not be there.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we'll kind of run through the card in a minute, but the Saudi Arabian folks are throwing a lot of money around. I mean, how do you get a Taker Goldberg match if you're not throwing money around? So, I mean, if the money's right and they wave the dollar signs at Brock Lesnar, he's going to go. As much as a lot of us don't like it, except for you. But if it's Friday, I like your point. I think it's a valid point, but the Saudi Arabian deal, that's too much money. He's going to
be there regardless, whether he cashes in or not. He's going to be there. Friday.
He could psych us out and say, maybe it's next Friday. It could, he could just be playing mind games, like he said he's going to. I mean, he's been playing mind games anyway, so this could be another mind game.
WWE pushing hard, obviously. So Renee Young is going to be there as part of the commentary team, but Natalya will be making the trip, or already probably has, to Saudi Arabia. At this time, it's actually already Friday in Saudi Arabia, even though it's early afternoon here in America. But Natalya making the trip. Now, WWE pushing hard to maybe get a women's match on this card. Do you see that happening?
I hope so. I mean, I think
we're about 24 hours away from the event, or less than.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say we're within 24 hours. I would like to see it happen. I mean, because of the customs and all that.
But do you see it happening?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I would like to see it, but I think with the customs of Saudi Arabia, the Saudi Arabian folks, I don't think that's going to change.
So Super Showdown, for some reason, it is at 9 o'clock local time in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. The other shows started at 7 o'clock, or 12 o'clock Eastern, but this one's going to start at 2 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock. Now, I can kind of understand a little bit in the sense of, obviously, the other two shows had to take that break for their mandatory prayer. This one will not have to do that if it starts at 9 o'clock, but that is a very late start time for an event that is clearly going to go at least 3 hours. So that is...
Yeah, it's going to go past, obviously, it's going to go past midnight, 1 o'clock local time.
It's going to go, I expect this to go past 1 a.m. local time. This will probably be one of the latest events in WWE history when it comes to the presentation they're putting on locally, because, again, they're going to kick things off at 9 o'clock, and at the bare minimum, I see this going 4 hours. So at the bare minimum, I see this ending at 1 a.m. local time.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, too. It's definitely going to be a late show. I mean, here in the States, it'll be fine, because it's like a 2 to 6.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
But
Eastern time.
I don't know much about Saudi Arabian customs and stuff like that, but that seems kind of weird to be going to a foreign country that is so religious, that is so strict, and be putting on a show with fireworks and all this extravaganza going on into the wee hours of the morning. You would think they would have more obviously they have the standards that women can't wrestle. You would think things like putting on shows at more reasonable hours would also be a part of that standard.
It's possible, but it also could have been part of the contract negotiations. I mean, like I was saying, I hope they maybe bring Natalya in for a match. I mean, that would be fantastic, but again, I don't think it's going to happen.
This is a late start. 9 o'clock. I mean, Monday Night Raw used to be 9, but that was only a 2-hour show. But 9 o'clock to start a pay-per-view event that is expected to be 4 hours long. It's going to be in front of like 80,000 people. But let's go through the card for Super Showdown and see what we expect is going to happen. Goldberg versus The Undertaker. Let's just start right from the top there. Goldberg and Undertaker obviously on Raw and SmackDown this week, Undertaker on Raw. That's kind of how crazy that is. You advertise Undertaker to be on Raw, and you put him on, I believe, at 10:56. He didn't even get to his whole extended speech had to be featured on WWE.com because he just had enough time to say, Goldberg, you're next, before Raw went off the air.
Yeah, I will say this. Once again, WWE is, dropping the ball with these big storylines, or these big matches. There's no storylines. It's just, It's like, come on, like, you're next. And then Goldberg goes on late on SmackDown and does the same thing, but it's like, rest in peace. It's like, this whole thing, like, because these guys are such big names, and especially for us, watching both these guys, in their primes, it's unfortunate that there's no build. It's just literally they show up. One shows up on Monday, one shows up on Tuesday, and then hey, we're gonna have a match on Friday. It was, to me, it's poor booking. I know this Super Showdown is obviously funded, a lot of money involved, so that's why they're bringing the names in. But at least give the fans, some storylines. I mean, honestly, there's a couple quick little jabs again, like Triple H and Randy Orton, but it's like, like the whole thing about Triple H's balls being in Stephanie's purse, and then Randy says, or Triple H replies back, well, at least I have some. It was like it was like that kind of stuff, but it was like there was no build. All they did was show montages of how great these guys are.
I mean, it's hard to have a build for these guys who aren't on TV every single week or before the. Yeah, essentially, it's hard to have a build for matches that are already made. Essentially, Triple H versus Randy Orton, Goldberg versus Undertaker, those are already made matches. Normally, you have the feud, and then you make the match. Normally, you have the issue that you can say, this is going to turn into a match. They already made the matches ahead of time before they had Goldberg or Undertaker. So we already had Triple H versus Randy Orton going one-on-one against each other before we had a reason for them to go one-on-one against each other.
Yeah, it's just
Goldberg,
all
Undertaker, who do you see winning this match? I see Undertaker.
Yeah, I think at this point it's going to be Undertaker. I would love to see Goldberg win, but Undertaker's going to win. I don't think it's going to be a great contest. I think you're going to see long entrances. You're going to see
longer entrances in the match.
Yeah, long stare downs, and then a couple moves, and then that's it. We'll get out of there.
All right, so Universal Championship, Seth Rollins, Baron Corbin. I see Seth Rollins in this match. I don't know about the Brock Lesnar thing, but in this match, defending.
Yeah, I think so. I don't see Baron Corbin getting the title. As much as WWE sees something in this guy that most fans are just over it, I don't see Baron Corbin. He's not ready to be a WWE Universal Champion yet. So Seth Rollins will retain.
One match that did get some kind of build, definitely, is the Kofi Kingston versus Dolph Ziggler. This feels more like a pay-per-view match because of the fact that this was kind of organically made. It wasn't just like these Legends matches.
It was thrown together pretty quick, though.
It was thrown together. Well, there's lots of pay-per-view matches that are thrown together pretty quick, but it was put together more organically. They did something. They didn't say it was going to be Kofi versus Dolph Ziggler and then have Dolph Ziggler come out. They had it treated like a regular WWE match where it's more organically created in that sense. So who do you think's going to win this? Kofi Kingston's leaving with the belt as well?
Yeah, I think so too. I think Kofi's going to win. You're on the same page as me, I assume. Kofi winning? Yeah.
Triple H versus Randy Orton. Let's move on to that one. Triple H, I see Randy Orton winning. I know everyone says Triple H is a great barrier of talent, but you know what? I see Randy Orton coming out on top.
Yeah, I'm with you. We agree again. I think Randy Orton's going to be. He's going to live up to his moniker as the Legend Killer, and I think he's going to. It's going to be. I think that might be match of the night. I think Randy Orton's going to win.
Finn Bálor versus Andrade. A lot of people say this could be definitely match of the night for the Intercontinental Championship. It's going to be the Demon Finn Bálor, so I'm going to go ahead and say Finn Bálor.
Yeah, if it's Demon showing up, Demon's going to win. Of course, I have to. For folks watching on YouTube, I got my Bálor club on, so I'm not. I'm definitely rooting for Bálor.
Okay. Here's this pay-per-view I've noticed has a few more throwaway matches. Talking about like Lars Sullivan versus Lucha House Party. Obviously, that's going to be quick. These other Saudi Arabia shows didn't really have that. I mean, they had nothing but championship matches and stuff like that. This is clearly a throwaway match. Lars Sullivan, Lucha House Party. I see Lars Sullivan winning this easy.
Yeah, Lars. Yeah, they're going to keep building Lars. No way he's losing.
Let's move up to the kickoff show real quick. Usos versus Revival. I don't know if the other Saudi Arabia shows have a kickoff show. I don't even remember. But either way, this match on the kickoff show, who do you see winning?
I'm going to go with the Revival. I think the Revival's been, they've been. I wouldn't say they're on fire, so to speak, but I feel like they're getting a little juice right now. And I mean, the Usos are the Usos, and I think they're always good as well. So it's going to be a great match. You're going to see a lot of near falls, but I think the Revival is going to pull something out, where it won't be clean. I don't think it will be. I think they're going to do something a little underhanded and get the victory.
All right. Roman Reigns versus Shane O'Mac. This has been getting pretty stale recently when it comes to storylines on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. You have both shows that they've been going back and forth at it. I see Roman Reigns winning this match just again because this feels more like a glorified house show. So
yeah, this whole Roman Shane thing just needs to be done, be gone. I mean, here's what I'll say. I would like to see Roman Reigns win, but for some odd reason, I feel like Shane's going to win because there's going to be some involvement. I think like Drew McIntyre, somebody's going to come out. So just because of that, I'm going to go with Shane in this one.
All right, and the final one-on-one match we're going to talk about, Braun Strowman versus Bobby Lashley. Obviously, this has potential to be just like Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg at WrestleMania 20. When you get two big guys in the ring, the matches sometimes don't really live up to the hype. I know Vince McMahon loves big guys, but I'm going to see Braun Strowman winning this, but I don't think it's going to be that entertaining of a match.
No, it's not going to be a good match. I'll go with Braun as well. It's just another throwaway match that really doesn't have much of a build. I mean, they were doing arm wrestling on the recent show, so I mean, it's poorly booked, but Braun will win.
So, like most WrestleManias, these Saudi Arabia shows are pretty similar, where you got to get every man on the card. So we're ending things off with a 50-man battle royal. Now, a lot of people are still thinking this could potentially be Royal Rumble style, or it could be in some sort of gauntlet way where not everyone comes out at once, because I personally don't believe I've ever seen 50 men in one wrestling ring at a time. Potentially, maybe we could see two wrestling rings, kind of a War Games style going on, where it's like, or three wrestling rings where you got two 25 rings going on, and then the last 10 meet in the middle ring. We'll find out, but I feel that this is going to probably be your main event, this 50-man battle royal. This is probably what's going to end the show.
Yeah.
Who do you see winning this? I obviously predict a lot of NXT guys in there. I know Adam Cole was in that Royal Rumble a couple years ago. Who do you see winning this? Who do you see maybe surprise entrant in this?
I see a surprise Bray Wyatt, and I see a surprise winner, Bray Wyatt.
All right. I mean, I don't see Bray Wyatt coming back yet. I still think there's more to be revealed from these Firefly Funhouses. What did you quickly make of that Firefly Funhouse this past week with the Vince McMahon and
that was I don't even know what
is it the most entertaining part of Monday Night Raw?
It's up there.
I skipped through pretty much everything else, but I do not miss a Firefly Funhouse. I
mean, Bray is just a funny, creepy character, and man, I hope he shows up at the Super Showdown. That's who I think is going to win. If I had to pick somebody, maybe another surprise. I mean, I'm hoping Velveteen Dream shows up, but I've been let down before. So
I'm going to pick Johnny Gargano
Good
to
choice.
make a surprise. Winning, I think, I feel maybe like what's another big guy we got around? I mean, Lars Sullivan's in a match. I feel like Lars Sullivan could be back in this thing. Other than that, I know a lot of guys are not going on the trip, so it's hard to decide. Has Kevin Owens, is he going on the trip? Is he one of them that's sitting out the trip? I know Daniel Bryan and Sami Zayn are.
I would assume Kevin Owens is probably sitting out.
I think Kevin Owens, last I read, is sitting this one out. So, again, it's kind of hard to pick. I'm not going to say Big E wins. Trying to think. AJ Styles. I'll go AJ Styles.
Okay.
I'm going to say AJ Styles win it. Johnny Gargano, though, is in the event itself. Super Showdown is going to be on Friday. We'll talk Raw, SmackDown, if anything happens. Anything else in the world of professional wrestling when it happens. Either way, enjoy Super Showdown whenever you get to watch it, whether it be live or on tape delay, because it is on a Friday in the middle of the afternoon. But either way, we'll be back next week. Hopefully, Dustin, he missed 3 weeks in a row, but either way, hopefully he'll be back next week for the show. Either way, regardless, us two will be here next week for the show to talk all things professional wrestling. So until then, this has been the Heel to Face podcast. Follow my guy to the right at Icebreaker21. Follow myself at KRockJared, and follow the program on Twitter and Instagram at Heel to the Face. See ya.